All right. We have Buck Sexton, who's going to join us here in just a few minutes, but we also have Bob Trent. He's a retired senior special agent of the former Immigration and Naturalization Service. He is currently the secretary of the National Association of Former Border Patrol Officers. He has gone after guys who have a 2123B. He oversaw, case officers working on cases that, involve terrorism. And I just wanted to get Bob in here to talk a little bit about a 2123B. For someone to be labeled that, Bob, what needs to happen? Is that something that I could stand in a hospital and say, hey, I got this guy, he's an Arab, and I'm afraid that maybe he was involved, he was there. Can you just make him a 2123B?
Actually, Glenn, the Immigration Nationality Act, Section 212, A3B, it deals with terrorism, and it's the inadmissibility charges. So we're talking about something that should be tagged on somebody before they come to the United States. It's a tag that says this person's inadmissible because they're connected with terrorism. And that has to be, that's a weighty thing to do to somebody. So you'd have to have some credible evidence, and that'd have to be presented and vetted by experts on the,
right, so,
in the counterterrorism field.
We know that he got some special exemption that was just, and I don't have it in front of me, some special exemption to where, if you're a VIP or something, they don't have to vet you. So they let him in for some reason. We don't know why. Have you ever heard of that exemption being used, and why is that kind of stuff used?
Well, in the past, we've let people in. We've expedited the issuance of visas for a number of reasons. Person's prominent, prominent family,
okay,
corporate executives, so on and so forth.
All right, so he comes in on this special exemption, and he's got another prior event in the system. And then on Tuesday, last Tuesday, at 4:35, after searching his house for, I think, 9 hours, interviewing his roommates for 5 hours, they call up and they talk to these two watch commanders and say, look, here's the evidence. We need to make him 2123B. How do you think that happened?
That doesn't, well, it doesn't make sense in that it seems to me that 212 tag was placed on a file prior to this event in Boston, where they were going to try to block him from entry into the United States. And this no-fly is a subsystem that's of the watch list that's maintained by the National Counterterrorism Center. So now that they know he's in the United States, the proper tag would have been a charge under deportation clauses, which would be the Section 237 of the Immigration Nationality Act.
All right. So
it lends itself that they...
Is there a chance...
It lends itself that they were doing some investigation prior to their encounter with him.
Well, that's what it says, that there was a previous event. We don't have currently the previous event available to share with the audience, but it does say that there was a previous event. Can you tell me the odds, or is there any way, what Napolitano says, well, look, we just put him on a no-fly list, that's all we did, and this was just kicked up to, he was just kicked up to that. I don't even know how that happened. Is there a chance that happened? That you're put on the no-fly list. This is what Brett Baer was saying on his video blog. That you just were put up on a no-fly list and you're kicked up into this 2123B.
No. That's a weighty decision that requires a manager in the counterterrorism national security area to approve that.
Okay.
So that would have to be something, some credible evidence that's examined by experts in the field.
Are there, if you knew you had somebody that was a 2123B and you were the Secret Service, would you put a member of the first family in the room with them?
Absolutely not.
If it says 2123B and then the second page says they are armed and dangerous, is that usual to be on a 2123B? Is that automatically put on there, or is that something that is added on by somebody? Oh, and additional information, we believe this person is...
No, I believe that tag would be put on if you believe the person to still be abroad, to be overseas. And that's a blocking charge, to block him from admissibility into the United States. And in fact, he wouldn't have been boarded on the aircraft had this been on the watch list. He would never have gotten on the aircraft.
How difficult is it to take someone off of this? If I have a 2123B, have you ever seen anybody who is mistakenly put on a 2123B?
I would say, best of my recollection, you could be removed, let's say, from the no-fly list. There are mistakes that have been made in no-fly list domestically.
But that's
Those
not
have been well publicized.
But is that the same as a 2123B?
No, now you've got two things: no-fly list plus they're saying the guy's connected to terrorism.
Correct. So,
right.
Is there any way how difficult is it to take yourself off a 2123B?
That would be a managerial decision. That would be, again, more credible evidence that would refute what you had before to put the tag on him in the first place.
One last question, Bob, and I thank you so much for helping us understand this. Why would the State Department be the one that would say, I don't want anybody else looking at this file? They came out and said, anybody, unless you're directly connected to this, I want nobody else looking at this file.
It would tell me that there's probably some problem in the file that they don't want it to be publicized.
Okay. Bob, I thank you very much. I appreciate you coming and being on record. We're going to talk to Buck here in a second. I will tell you, Buck and I had a conversation on the way over to the studios today, and I said, you know, Buck, we have our sources are being threatened, you know, with 20 years in prison. This is a very, very big deal. These are, and one of them actually two of them asked last night if I would pass word on to you. Thank you for calling your congressman. Thank you for tweeting this. Thank you for getting this information out. These guys have risked their jobs and their livelihoods and their freedom, quite honestly, to try to get this information out. I'm going to talk to Buck a little bit about, because he was a guy who lived in this world for a while, what threat they're under now, and also what he makes of all of this. Back in a minute.